So on MLK Day, we volunteered and helped the Mecklenburg Council of Elders try to get people to get excited and encouraged about getting expunctions and controlling their record. So we're going to take a break from the 30 for 30 series to talk about your criminal record, how you get one, how you fix and amend some of them, and why in an expunction is so important. So it's very easy to get a criminal charge, and once you're charged, that now goes on your record. Even if the charge is ultimately dismissed, if you're found not guilty, there's still a record and records that go with that charge after you were charged. So let's just start with the multiple ways you can get a citation from officer, where they just give you a sheet of paper, say show up in court. You can get a summons, which is kind of similar to that. Sometimes people go down to the courthouse if an officer's not present and they say so and so did such and such, they put their hand on a stack of Bibles and say, I swear. And if the magistrate finds probable cause, they can bring out or start the criminal charge process. Or an officer can do some investigation to determine that there needs to be charges filed and file a warrant for your arrest. So it's just that simple. Someone can go down and say, he hit me, and if the magistrate believes him, and this happens a lot in domestic violence case, now you have a charge, and now you have the beginning of a criminal record. Now, with the criminal record, once you are charged, that information exists there for the rest of your life, especially in the state of North Carolina. So we're going to key this into the state of North Carolina, double check with your home state as to what they do. So once you were charged, if you get it dismissed or if you are found not guilty, it's on you to erase that record completely. And an expunction is the way that you do it. Not getting it sealed, you want to get it expunged in the state of North Carolina. So what that means is the charge can be treated like it legally never happened, like it doesn't exist. And you're able to say and fill out forms once your charge is expunged or on a conviction expunged to say that this case never exists. And in the statute say that you can do this. So there are limited available. There's limited remedies if you're trying to get a conviction expunged, but for those who need them, that's why you have them. So you have people who are convicted who, if you get pardoned, or if it's an identity theft case, if it's your first felony and it's been over 10 years and you don't have any additional charges, or if it's a misdemeanor conviction and it's been 5 years and you don't have any additional charges. And these also want to add in, these are non-violent convictions. So there's an element of assault or there's violence, or it's a breaking and entering or like a burglary. Those charges are typically, convictions are typically excluded. But that still helps a wide variety of people, and this wasn't even available 3 years ago. So like I said, if you're misdemeanor 5 years, felony 10 years, and then once you get these convictions expunged, if you were a felon, you get that qualify for that expunction 10 years from the date of your sentence ending. You are no longer a felon, and it's like it never happened. So think of the power that creates when you're talking about qualifying for student loans, not being disqualified for housing, being able to get your gun rights restored. And there was a question about voting rights. Just a sidebar, you're able to vote as soon as you finish probation in the state of North Carolina, even if you are a felon. Just make sure you're not on probation. So if your charge is dismissed or you're found not guilty, why do I still need an expunction? Very simple. So let's say you're driving down the street, you get pulled over by a police officer, and the officer checks and sees that you have a resist arrest charge, or you have assault on a government official charge, or you maybe have a gun charge that was dismissed. And the officer can now use that and say, well, even though this person wasn't found guilty, in the interest of officer safety, I thought it was necessary to pull him out the car just to be sure, because he has this charge, this charge, and this charge, and there's police reports that are attached to it. And even though you were found not guilty or discharged, the charge was dismissed, they can still use that as the basis to kind of say, all right, based on these reports, which I don't know everything that's in a police officer system, but based on these reports, I thought that I might need to take some precautions to protect myself. So also, like I said, these charges stay on for life in the state of North Carolina. There's no 20-year period. There's no 10-year period. I know a lot of people have talked about, they've heard this, that, and the third, that it falls off after 7 to 10 years. That's completely inaccurate. So an employer may not look past 7 to 10 years, but that does not mean it's not on your record. Nowadays, it's more difficult to get a job, and places are looking further and deeper and going back further than 7 to 10 years, and with all the private companies, you're not sure what company does what policy is which, what employer is looking for different things. So it's in your best interest for them not even see that record, even if it's dismissed or you found out guilty. Because that one thing that may have been dismissed, of course, that can change the employer's impression on you. And at the same time, even though you were found not guilty, there's still reports that exist, and people can use these reports as a basis. So even if the charge is dismissed, you want to get every record, which also includes mugshots, police reports, and any other public record that's attached to it. So that's the importance of why you need to charge expunge, regardless of whether you're convicted or whether it's not guilty. Like I said, there's limited remedies if you are found guilty and convicted. How do you know if you've been convicted or that you were found guilty? So if you've done probation, that's a sign you probably were guilty. If you've actually done jail time, you've probably been convicted and found guilty. So a lot of people think, I've never been convicted because I never went to jail. That's not the threshold. If you had to pay court costs and just walk away, there might be a possibility that you were found guilty. So usually, I understand people are stressed. They may panic. They may not feel comfortable while, they're standing in front of a judge. But a judge will tell you, upon your plea of guilty, I now found you guilty. And then they'll say a bunch of terms and conditions. If you have a trial, the jury comes back and tell you you're guilty. So that's less of a concern. But if you've been on probation, and if you've been to jail, and if you paid court costs, in a lot of instances, you've probably been found guilty. So the last thing I want to say is the importance of not delaying. So if you were found guilty and of a misdemeanor, you want to get that expunged after the 5-year period, do not wait, because one of the things that disqualifies people for now is an additional conviction of any kind. So a lot of the conviction expunctions right now, they are only for first offenders. It's your first charge. You don't have anything else. There's some exceptions for some drug charges. There's some other exceptions. But generally speaking, if it's your first charge, if you're of a certain age, that is kind of like your one lifeline, your free ace in the hole, get out of jail free card. So with that being said, if you need an expunction, you're trying to control your record, you should definitely call someone. An attorney. They have some nonprofits that are doing some free consultations. Get your record checked out. Take advantage of that. That's my free public service announcement. Now we're going to get back to the 30 for 30 series and talking about what I learned from getting pulled over by the cops. Thank you for your time.